Former city council member, now mayoral council, Sharon McPhail, was one of those in the meeting, and she is now with us from our newsroom. Sharon,
it had everything to do with business.
Well, let me ask you this, though. The mayor just spent a night in jail. He's now got 10 felony counts against him in 2 different cases. The city council has forfeiture hearings ramped up. The governor has a removal hearing set to begin. Has the mayor given any indication that he's considering resigning?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Why hasn't he said what he hasn't said?
Why is he not given any? Why would you say that he's not considering resigning?
Because he's not considering resigning, and that's what he said.
Well, can the mayor at all fulfill his duties as mayor right now? He's not allowed to travel. He clearly has absolutely no stroke or pull with the city council in an effort to get anything done, and more members of the business community are frustrated, voicing their frustration.
Well, you know, like he said to us, keep working. You're doing great things. We really are. The public policy changes during this administration have been amazing. And, you know, I know you have your take on what's going on right now. Some of us have a different take on it.
Sharon, I'm just curious. What did he say to you in the staff meeting? What was his demeanor? What were the first words out of his mouth? Was it, "I'm sorry"?
Just very, very subdued and very, you know, wanting us to do what we need to do to make sure that people in the city get what they have to have.
Now, let me get to your situation here today, because earlier this morning, Judge Thomas Jackson made a reference to you in court and didn't seem at all pleased with the fact that he had heard from you and Conrad Mallett. Here's what he said. Listen.
I heard what he said.
Also yesterday, I received several phone calls. One from a female attorney who was a past member of the Detroit City Council, was on the mayor's team.
Now, you have acted as mayoral counsel, so that amounts to ex parte communication, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't, Devin. And first of all, you know, I noticed you cut off the rest of what he said, that he hadn't heard from me and he'd been on the bench 20 years. I was in his wedding, number one. I was in his wedding. And number two, I was a prosecutor in that court for 9 years, chief of the warrant division from the prosecutor's office under John O'Hare. So that's absolutely not true. And there is no problem asking a procedural question. I didn't even really ask to talk to him. I talked to the law clerk and I said, "Is it okay to ask a procedural question?" She said, "Well, I'll tell him you called." Well, that's what happened.
Mitch Rabitwer, our legal analyst, felt that it was rather unusual and inappropriate for you.
Yeah, but he didn't ask me about it, did he? He didn't ask me what I did, what I said, and now that I've told him what I did and what I said, I'm sure he'll have a different opinion.
The mayor had to post somewhere in the neighborhood of $52,000 to walk out of there a free man today. Where did that money come from?
Oh, you know, I'm sure he sat down and talked to me about that, right? Well, it's not my business. You know, I stay in my lane, Devin. I stay in my lane. My lane is the legal issues around various things. And that's what I'm staying in and running 3 departments for him. Well, that's what I'm doing.
Well, then here's a legal lane that I think has become a little trickier. The mayor said in court the other day that it was an emergency that took him to Windsor, that he was called there to shore up what he felt was a deal that was about to crumble. Our reporters today spoke with the mayor's counsel from Windsor today. They didn't see it as an emergency at all, that the mayor called them. It wasn't the other way around. Did the mayor lie about his meeting in Windsor?
See, here's the issue. The definition of what you think is an emergency, what I think is an emergency, same problem they have in proving this criminal case against him. What's intent? Did he intend to do anything or he didn't? It's what's in his head. And what he thought was important for him to do as mayor of the city of Detroit, I think we should respect. Now, as far as being in Windsor, I got to tell you, I wouldn't have thought that was part of the order. I mean, it's across the street. You know, and I understand that it is when you really think about it,
Sharon,
but I wouldn't have thought that either.
It's much more than across the street, and
it's
the mayor
across the street, Devin.
The mayor is a bar member. He understands exactly how a bond.
No, bar member means nothing. You know, you have to go look everything up every time. It means you get to practice law, but you still have to go look it up.
If you've already gotten in trouble for traveling without permission once, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a wise thing to do. I'm not saying it was wise. I'm just saying that, you know, there is a sort of a sense of Windsor's part of us. Don't you feel that way? I mean, one minute you want Windsor to be part of us and they're all in it together, and the next minute they're a foreign country. Which is it?
I think it's pretty much always a foreign country, but on very friendly terms. But lastly, as someone who is legally advising the mayor, would you advise that he step aside?
Absolutely not.
You see no problems right now with the fact that Detroit is being splattered all over the headlines in very bad terms. We've got a mayor who spent the night in jail, the first time in 300 years that this city's been in existence that's happened.
Here's a thought: stop printing those headlines.
You ignore the truth?
No, I didn't say ignore the truth. I said stop printing the headlines. I would really love it if people would stop ignoring the truth.
I'm confused. Are you blaming the messenger?
You are, and that's exactly the point. You see, you are not, the press does what it's supposed to do. You do your job, and that's what you're supposed to do. But you do not have to take the position that everybody else is wrong and you're always right, because usually that's not true.
I'm wrong many, many times a day, but you're not trying to absolve the mayor of his responsibility.
Absolutely not.
You can't blame the messenger for what's happened to the mayor.
No, but you can't say that it's okay for you to continually hound the man either. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, your position relative to what happened, when you say things to me, your question includes a conclusion, like hide the truth, you know, then what you're trying to say is that we're over there trying to hide the truth, and in fact that's not true at all. Everyone's entitled to a defense. I promise you, if you ever find yourself in a position where you need one, you'll want the best one you can get.
Well, I understand that, but back home we've got a saying that if one person tells you you're drunk, it doesn't mean anything, but if 10 people tell you you're drunk, you need to lie down. We have 10 felony counts now in 2 different tracks.
That's not 10
everything
people,
from
that's one
perjury
person.
to assault on officers who were trying to serve legal processes, and the mayor's a lawyer. I can't imagine a circumstance under which he should put his hands on those people.
You know what? I don't know about that. I wasn't there, but I will tell you this. To go to someone's house to serve somebody who doesn't live there ought to cause you pause. You ought to be looking into that. Why in the world are they over at somebody else's house trying to serve somebody who doesn't live there?
Because they saw a vehicle that they felt belonged to him.
A Ferguson vehicle? He has 100.
I'm sorry?
He has 100 of those.
Well,
he's a business. He has 100 Ferguson trucks.
Sharon,
You're going to say they didn't know that was the mayor's sister's house? They didn't know, you know, there was somebody in there who works for Ferguson? You're going to say that? No.
Sharon McPhail, it is always an experience. It is talking to you, running around these legal issues. I appreciate you coming in today very much.
Thank you so much.